You go back and you talk to Nick Saban. What was the arrangement you guys had for the remainder of the season?
When I came back, I had the press conference down here and came back that next day and asked Coach what he wanted to do. Obviously, he's the head coach, and it's his decision. He said that he wanted me to stay on and coach and, try to manage both jobs. We laid out a plan that was really basically in the kind of downtime, in the bowl preparation, that would be FAU time, whether that was calling recruits, whether that was watching recruits on film, watching your current roster to see what it is. There's a lot of stuff, obviously, when you take a head job that normally you're there and you're there all day long every day. And now all of a sudden you're trying to do both these things. You're trying to hire a complete staff, interview those guys. I believe in interviewing in person, and getting a good feel for your coaches. So there was a lot going on. We managed that the best that we could and used the time when it was Alabama time for Alabama, and then at night at the bowl games or in Tuscaloosa, used that for Florida Atlantic time, and try to do the best that we could. And then really, after this last game, going through it, and we had a month to prepare and a month to do all this, and sitting there going, okay, wait, we basically have a little more than a week, and you still haven't finished half your staff down here. You've got mid-year recruits, that start school coming up here in about a week. So there's a lot to do. And I just kind of reflected, after the game and watching the game on film and sitting down with Coach and just saying, Coach, I want to be here, but I don't know. The quarterback played probably statistically his worst game of the year. Was that my fault? As I look at it, as I look at calling the game, did I call a great game? So I don't know those answers, but it was very hard as I sat there to say, okay, am I putting these kids that have worked so hard to get to 14-0 with one game left in the best position to win? I'm trying to, and then he said, well, ask yourself, was there times that you're sitting in a meeting and you're thinking about the other job, or you're thinking about what you have to do? You've got a coach flying in that night, and you're in meetings with the staff, watching film, and you're worried about who's picking up at the airport. What questions you're going to ask him, and your mind's kind of both places. And I said, probably was. Now does that mean that impacted the game? I don't know that answer, but I didn't want to sit there and say, all of a sudden, we don't play well on offense and lose a national championship game, and it'd be my fault that I didn't have the players in the best position to win. So it was very difficult. We wouldn't have been able to do it if Sark wasn't there. This is a very unique situation because Sark and I think almost exactly alike. We just kind of grew up together. So when to call plays, what to call during the game, during practices, what to do in the red zone. We can go in separate rooms. We used to joke, go in separate rooms. You can tell us, okay, come out with the 5 best plays to run on the 4-yard line, and we'll come back. It'll probably be the exact same plays. It's just a strange thing, and so
could you have stayed if you wanted to, Lane?
Yes, yeah. Coach and I talked about it. This was a mutual decision, but this was a decision that I needed to do. I didn't want to really, but I needed to, and I think this is a part of the, as we talk about the maturity of being with Saban and thinking things through versus just snap decisions, which I've kind of made a lot of snap decisions in my life. That's just my personality versus really Coach thinks things through a lot slower. And, took the night to think it over, came back in the morning, revisited it, and just said that this is the best of the players. We're still figuring out what, compliance-wise, how much I can do, because I want to help in every way that I can, to win this last game, and trying to figure out, can we kind of switch roles, where I'm kind of Sark, off the field, and then he's becomes me, running the meetings and calling the game, because you can't do, rule-wise, it's not like the NFL where you can just have as many coaches as you want. Only the main coaches are allowed to coach the actual players.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.